Thanks a lot, thanks a lot, thanks a lot. All right. I seem to have always the mic that works. Great, great, great. So yes, hello, my name is Riku Asikainen. Really happy to be here. Wonderful day. Looks like a great day inside as well. Just a couple things about myself, and then we kick off on the. This is really for the entrepreneurs of the house today. So I'm an entrepreneur myself. Started my company when I was 18. I was still in the school. It was basically a internet bookstore. Before internet, we had books at that time, so it was between 1900 and 1950 or whatever. Okay, let's not go there. So yes, but I have it when I was 18, and then I sold it when I was 32 to the biggest publishing house in Nordics, and then I started angel investing. I have now done 47 companies. So far, some of them are really done, so there's nothing left of the money. But I have a couple good, exits as well. One IPO, currently 18 companies that I'm working with. Okay, so today's topic is really kind of investment readiness in a larger sense. This is, of course, a picture of San Francisco, where we all like to go with our $1 million to raise the next rounds. So I have three topics. Why is it difficult in the first place? Why do we have these events? Why is it difficult to get funding? When should I raise funding if I'm an entrepreneur? And then is it really funding that dictates is your company going to grow or not? Okay, and if you have any questions, please do ask them, and I try to answer them as well. Where do I see the time? Good. Very often the problem, I'm losing parts. So very often the problem with the startups is really that the product is not quite ready, but we are blaming for the funding. But that's not always the case. A little bit more often, the question is that why is it difficult to raise funding? And my answer is quite simple. It's difficult because the people that are asking for the money are not the ones that are paying it back. So you as an entrepreneur, when you ask an investment from me, you are basically never going to pay it back to me yourself, but instead you are going to ask the market, the customers, to pay it for you. And since you are asking the money and you are not paying it back, I have to ask as an investor from the people that are actually going to pay it back to me, which is the market, so customers, that are they willing to really pay for the product that you are approving or you are showing to me. And for that reason that we have this triangle of basically having, let's see if this works. So we first have to have the trust between the investor and the entrepreneur, and then the entrepreneurs should use that money for the growth, and then the growth pays it back to us. And if you can't show me, like maybe in a couple of the pitches today already, if you can't really show the traction from the customers, it's very difficult for me to believe in your story, even if I would really love to do so. So that brings me to the next slide, which I'm stealing from Derek with pride. And this is about really the idea versus execution. And this is one of my favorite slides. So quite often people come to me and they say, I see about 1,000 companies every year. They say that I have this great idea. And I'm quite bored with it. I don't really like to hear ideas. The ideas are really basically worth of one lunch to me. So between an awful idea, which is -1, and a brilliant idea, which is 20, and these are euros now, that's basically the range of a pricing of an idea to me. But what really matters is your capacity to make things happen. And there, the range is not between 1 to 20, but it's maybe from 1 to 10 million. And like Derek says, that how you should then value the early stage company is basically idea times the execution power. And if your idea is, let's say, weak with number one on the idea side, but you have a great execution, the price of your company should be 1 million. There is what is missing on this slide is that the probability or the function of how many of these different type of ideas do I see. And I have to say that I see much more awful and weak ideas than brilliant ideas. So brilliant ideas are maybe 1 out of 20 when about 50% of the ideas or even more are weak or below. So it's quite difficult to come up with a brilliant idea, but it's much more difficult to come with the brilliant execution. So of course now the question is that how do I define or how do I see or how do I explain what is a great execution? And obviously, you know, it's difficult to say. So most likely what we are going to say as an investors is that, you know, what did you do before this? If you have done something that really has shown a lot of progress in the past, then probably we can believe in your execution. Of course, great people that execute, they also come up with great ideas, but they don't have to come with the great idea. If you have a great team with a kind of a bad idea, they can still change the bad idea to be better in later stage. So really the most important thing here is that you need to get things done. And that's something that all of the investors are going to emphasize to you in the future as well. And one part of it is that you have to show traction today in order for us to really believe that you have the execution capacity. Okay, when should you then raise equity or funding in general? Let's not go into the different forms of equity, funding, but I'm mainly talking about equity funding here. First of all, if your direction, whatever it is currently, if you now get $1 million more, you are just going to move in the direction where you were going, but you are just going to go there faster. So if you're going down, you're just going to go down faster. If you're going up, then you probably go up faster. So the direction of your racket is not going to be changed by the more fuel you're putting in. So that's something that you need to understand. That's why I have made this, and this is all handmade, graph for you. So basically on the upper side, there is a revenue growth in euros or dollars or whatever you like. So it starts basically from 0. Now my graph is a little bit off. It should be here. This should be here. So it starts from 0, and then for the first 2 years, you probably don't have any revenue or very limited revenue. And the people that are going to fund you are those 3 Fs. So they are friends, family, and fools. And those are the people that are going to give you money at that stage. Then after that, maybe 2 years, you are going to talk to business angels. You see some traction already. You are probably in the revenue of 100,000 or so, maybe going towards a couple 100,000 a yearly revenue. Then you meet up with some of the friends in the front row with the venture capital, and then you go in growth. But what is really interesting and important here, and something that you need to understand, is that if you are going to hit this road, it takes 10 years, even if you succeed on everything that you are trying to do. And that's something that people most often do not understand. That this is really a long-term commitment into the project that you are starting with. And the funny thing is that you are actually committing into it with these people in the top row. So the friends and family and fools that you are going to have in the first years, they are going to stay with you for the next 10 years. So make sure that any investor you pick in, that you are just really willing to spend time with them for the years to come. Then another point is that the more growth you have, the more negative is your cash flow. So the more funding you need in most cases. And that's just a fact of fact of growth. It's not the fact of life, but it's a fact of growth in most cases. It can be different, of course, if your business is cash generating from the first place, but then you don't need the outside investors anyway. So, and the important part for you is to really understand that what is the size of the negative cash flow that you are going to the negative area of cash flow, if you look at the years here, that you have to go over in order for you to succeed. Because if you don't understand that, then you're probably not having the right investors to back you up. Okay. Then finally, I'm asking, is it really about funding? And this is a very common topic in all of the European countries. So I'm currently in the European Business Angels board. I'm the vice president of the board. And in any European country, there is maybe outside of UK, London and Cambridge, outside of those areas, everywhere else, the people are saying basically that, okay, well, look at what they have in the Silicon Valley, look at what they have in Israel, you know, that we are really, you know, if we would have funding, things would be better. I tend to disagree in a certain extent. Yes, we could have more funding on the later stage. You know, certainly the players in the later stage are now US or China dominant, and that's something that you can see. But on the early stage, usually it's more of a lack of an experienced entrepreneurs that are willing to grow than really the funding itself. And for me, if I'm looking at my companies, I'm much more often talking to the entrepreneurs on like putting more gas, you know, trying to grow faster, adding risk than really de-risking the situation, what they are doing. So the decision to grow is really a decision that the owners need to make. And there are at least three things that need to conclude here. One is the will of the owners, that they are really willing to take the risk of growing, which also there is a downside potential there that you might end up with nothing. Then you need to have the resources, out of which one is of course the funding. And then you need to have the selection of the management team and governance processes in place. So for startup, of course, you think, because you are the founder and you are the owner, it's usually the same person. So she is always thinking, okay, is this really relevant to me? But I think that it is important to go through the kind of general how companies grow framework also for the startups. And I'm sorry for my kind of pictures are not really beautiful, but I made them myself, so you should, you know, appreciate it. It's not really, you know, so. So my growth flower, which is a beautiful word anyway. So in the middle there, there is a purpose of the company, and I think that all of the investors really find that the most important thing, that there needs to be some kind of a purpose. If you just say that my company is just here to make money, you know, at least for the angel investors, it's just not going to work. You know, to change the world, to do something for the common good, you know, have some kind of a purpose. Yes, and of course we are here to make money as well, but it cannot be the main purpose. Of course, if you are in the banking business, then probably the purpose is also you know, shown in the money side. But then the other things around it, the great entrepreneurs, the ones that really get things done, they have these figured out. So it's about your solution, of course, what type of, like we have seen the pitches today. It's about the size of the market, it's about the competition, it's about the product, it's about the team. But I like to point out one of the ones that the great entrepreneurs most often get right, and that's the timing. And there are a lot of things, and we have all seen similar type of businesses being tried before, and then just one team just gets it right at one timing in a certain market, and that's a very particular talent to have, to understand that now there is enough customers, now the time is right, and usually you need to have. You can always, of course, call it a luck, but usually you need to have a domain expertise in a deep sense to understand that, okay, this is now going to be the next big move. Electric cars, you know, the first electric cars were made 120 years ago. So if you got the timing wrong, you know, by 119 years, you probably are still losing money. And now we have one company which is maybe making money out of electric cars. All right, so we have a little bit of time for questions if there are any. Otherwise, we'll just continue with the great program.
Yes, we have one question from Felix there. So,
Felix. Yes.
Oh.
It was the growth flower.
Felix,
Growth flower.
The multidimensional growth flower.
Yes.
There's lots of components, but I'm a man and I cannot multitask. So what's the most important part of this flower to really make this little seed into a beautiful object?
Yes, so it is really multi-dimensional. So I would say that the great entrepreneurs have many of those areas covered. But like we had the discussion about leadership a little bit earlier today, I think that the purpose, you know, if you have really an early stage company, you're going to face with all kind of problems and competition, and it's going to be difficult. If you don't have a purpose for your team, if you are saying that look, let's all push, and you can have, you know, a little bit lower salary than everybody else, but you know, but can you work overnight for me so that I can make money? If that's the purpose of the company, you probably don't get the team to sign in that. So, but if you are saying that, okay, look, we are really changing the world, this is going to be a great thing, and you know, all these beautiful things are going to happen, then the team is going to work for you on a level that is much higher than you even expected. So I would say the purpose is still in the middle. But Felix is not satisfied. He's going to ask more.
I actually like that you took the word leadership, because that's what it is about. And if you have a great team, you have the strengths in persons, and then they basically complete everything to make this multidimensional flower complete.
Exactly. That's where we finish. It was a beautiful finish. You know, somebody was listening.
And
so let's give applause.
Let's give Felix applause. But first of all, let's give Riku applause. Thank you very much for this informative talk, and we will soon find out what kind of purpose is behind.